and plan accordingly. And then people they talk about their competitors and they kind of have a rough idea of who they are, but they don't seem to narrow down their absolute most important competitor, and then they don't do everything they can to reverse engineer them. As a matter of fact, I would say people do virtually nothing to reverse engineer them. You should be not only signing up for their lists and buying their products, but doing the pay-per-click X-ray technique, which I've talked about elsewhere, and seeing what changes they made on their website that have worked, and reverse engineering their pay-per-click campaigns and reverse engineering their SEO. And you really need to become a student of your competitors, because why reinvent the wheel? Why learn the painful lessons that they've already learned for you? And I see very, very few people doing that. I have reasons for that, and I think I know how to fix that. I'll get to that in a minute. Here's something that people don't talk about. It's the lack of an emotionally solid center of gravity for all your marketing. And what happens is, when most students start jumping into the market, they just start developing their sales materials and follow-up emails, and they wander in all directions. And what you'll find is that sales letters and offers that don't, and websites that don't convert on the first visit are much more likely to convert on the 10th or the 12th visit if there is a consistency through all your messaging. And if the contact you have with people throughout that time shows them that you've got a very definite solution in mind and a very definite way to achieve that solution, and all of your free materials and all of your sales materials and all of your marketing just centers around that point. And here's the example that I use in this market, the one that you're looking at right now, my internet marketing market. And my center of gravity is to help people clearly define their keyword target, to identify the most responsive prospects and customers on that target, to find out the market gaps or point of difference benefits that those most responsive people are seeking, the things they can't find elsewhere. I tell people to find out what they smell like. You'll always hear me, presenting ways of interviewing prospects and getting at the emotional benefits, and getting way beyond the surveys and statistics and click-through rates and things that we normally like to look at. I tell people to study the competition, develop a center, which is the message I just gave you. And then I've got a whole series of messaging about helping people stay realistic and inspired and avoiding the happy dreamer bullcrap. Excuse my language. I, especially lately, have found it necessary to really debunk a lot of the... everybody else makes it sound easy, and it's not easy. It's not. It's possible. I think that internet entrepreneurs are people who could not be happy working for anybody else. And if you can't be happy working for anybody else, then this is the road for you. And if you put your head down and work and solve problems, those are the people that I see living their dreams. But it takes a lot longer than most people say. And you really need to conquer things have an attitude of conquering with focus and determination. My friend David Oliver always says, I can't beat you this week, but I can beat you in 6 months or a year, if you make that choice. Now, in order to do that, you really have to have that focus and determination, and people don't seem to get there. Very, very few people, in my estimation, seem to get to a focused and determined attitude on that, even though they think that they have that for a few months at a time. And here's the problem. I've talked previously about the discrepancy between people telling you what to do but not how to do it, and I really hate that way of selling, and that's why I offer so much free content. I like people to get to know me, and the people that have an affinity for my way of thinking and my way of working will purchase my products and get more involved, and the people that don't, well, they have a way to get less involved, and my life is just much easier like that. That's a whole other story. You can look at some of my other posts about that. But because of the way that most internet marketers market their marketing education, most people don't realize that they're just very excited about what to do, and they dabble in the products they purchase that tell them how to do it. But what nobody talks about is that even when you know what to do and how to do it, you have to find the time to do it. And that's quite an undertaking. Most people are working another job. Most people have wives and families and parents and exercise and nutrition and things to take care of, and they can't sit on the computer 12 hours a day and work on on this one business, even if they could get settled about what to do and how to do it. So that's a big part of the equation that is missing for most people. And then there's the energy and morale. And because people bounce from all these what to do's, they slowly lose the energy and morale, and they go through these periods of disappointment and depression, where where they even if they had the time, that the low energy eats up that time, because they're just not sure it's going to work, and they how many times can you fail and keep picking yourself up, and it turns out you have to keep picking yourself up to make things work, and that's true at every level. It's not just true about making your first $100,000 income. It's true about making the second $100,000 and bumping that further and further. It's true at every level that you have to keep failing and picking yourself up, which is what I mean by the determination to see it through and the persistence to overcome the obstacles. And that's the whole model, and that's what nobody talks about. So because nobody really presents the whole model, what happens is there's a manic excitement people have from time to time, but it's accompanied by this feeling of instability and a lack of confidence. And because let's go back to the earlier model,